Hi. Hello, beautiful souls. It's Katerina Satori coming to you from a magical fairy garden. That's right. Now let people join. Good morning. Good morning, my loves. I really wanted to give this topic a voice because it's a deep alchemical process that every creative person will be asked to go through. And we're all creative, darlings. We're all creative. Some of us simply believed in the voices of criticism and limitation that we are not creative enough. We are naturally divinely creative. Hello, my loves. It's Katerina Satori coming to you from my garden. So I wanted to share with you, I wanted to pull the curtain and share a little bit about my creative process in hope that it will give you encouragement. It will give you some inspiration and some clarity. And I talk a lot about the mutation of consciousness being a crucial part of a creative process. Good morning. It's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. Good morning. Here I am in my summer hat. You know, when the summer comes, all I wear is just summer dresses and summer hats. So there is such an experience called the mutation of your consciousness. Some people described it as a creative funk, where you feel deep melancholy. You feel creatively flat, not even inspired by your vision, disconnected from your purpose, profoundly uncertain about yourself, your gifts, and where you're going. Let me know in the comments if you're going through those experiences, and if you go through the experiences quite regularly. Because the more creative you are, the deeper you're gonna dive into the spectrum of your creative frequency. So experiences of deep creative melancholy is a part of the creative process, darlings. And if you are an entrepreneur and you don't consider yourself creative, there is a great growth opportunity, because in order to become truly impactful in this world, we must continue to allow a new levels of creativity and innovation into our work, right? Innovation, the new way, before you can receive a new wave of innovation, a new wave of inspiration, you gotta allow mutation to occur. And the moment I learned that process, darlings, it gave me so much liberation from dark thoughts, from calling this experience a funk, of not wanting to go through that experience, having a resistance, right? Only wanting to be on a positive, heightened ways of awareness. But mutation of consciousness is deep alchemy that your creative process is taking you through, right? And what helps me whenever I'm going through it, because I was just in it for the last 8 hours, I was like, I am in mutation. It's so empowering. It almost feels like something is cooking within your body. And that new vision and that new awareness requires time and patience for you to see it. Right, darling? So the moment I start to value the hours of melancholy as much as the hours of heightened productivity, my creative process began to flower. My creative process began to breathe. You know, your creative being is like a part of your psyche that is alive, that has an identity, that has a name, right? Yes, those your videos always lift me up. I love it. I love it. I surround myself with beauty, darlings, because it feeds my creativity, right? But sometimes, no matter how much beauty I have around me, my creative process will require me to go into descent, into uncertainty, into restlessness, into blah. And there's a high value in that process, to surrender to that process, to allow it detonate you in a way, right? So you can receive a next level of innovation from a place of humility and reverence towards your own creative process. Mutation of consciousness. Remember that. It's a powerful naming of a deep alchemy that occurs within your soul. Instead of calling it a funk, instead of calling it, I feel down on myself, right? What if we give it a name that is truly powerful? And Richard Rudd, the author of the Gene Keys, he calls it a mutation process. That's who I learned it from. A mutation process. A different stage of your life, your soul will call you into a mutation. A profound times of deep uncertainty. Where are you going? Sometimes I call it the void as well, right? Deep unknown. And it's this beautiful process of rewiring our attitude towards those times where we don't feel high creatively, we feel really low and really vulnerable. And there is great openness in vulnerability. If you're willing to see it, I'm going through mutation. There's something new is cooking. There's something new is gonna open up. And the less I would resist those times, darling, the more powerful creative force would come through. So yesterday, I dedicated a whole day to tuning into my own big vision for 2020. And I had a plan to get up in the morning and to start my creative work. Well, I got up in the morning yesterday and I felt I am in mutation. Oh my goodness, I had such a big plan for this day and I feel flat. I don't want to do it. I'm not inspired. So never force your creative process. It just never responds to a force. It doesn't. So what I do in those moments where I have an ambitious plan for the day and nothing in my body says, I'm up for it, I begin to slow everything down and I say, well, what would feel good to you? And what would feel good is to take me to my favorite brunch place, drink my turmeric latte, read a book that inspires me, and just allow the creative, mutative process to have its own pace. And by me not fighting, not forcing creative process, but creating a nourishing environment for mutation to complete its process. At 5 p.m. last night, darlings, at 5 p.m. this creative vision just downloaded like a waterfall. And I was catching it. I was writing it on big sheets of paper, this vision and that vision and this vision. And I'm observing this is the process. And there's, it's really powerful where you begin to trust yourself, to trust the mutation, to trust the alchemy that is occurring, and to celebrate the profound times of uncertainty about where you're going instead of resisting them and avoiding them. Because what I've discovered and continue to discover, when I find myself in those times of uncertainty, I am more willing to listen to the voice of my higher self. I'm more willing to pay attention to the subtle clues. I'm more willing to journal. I'm more willing to be real with my own heart, right? So those times where we feel creatively low, they're actually very ripe with opportunities for a breakthrough, for an insight. And allowing that mutation and digestion to take place is really, really powerful, darlings. Let me know in the comments if you resonate, if this is helpful, if it's useful for you, because a lot of my community, you're highly creative people. And sometimes we can be so driven by efficiency, productivity, growth, impact, results, right? And those are all amazing things. But nothing new can come through if we don't create the space for mutation and alchemy to occur. And that alchemy will only comes when you give it time and you don't force it, right? That's what I'm discovering, darlings. You know, what do I know? Sharing from my experience. But it feels so good. You know, I woke up this morning and so connected to the vision, so connected to the path, right? But just yesterday, for the most part of the day, I felt deeply disconnected and restless and mutating. So by allowing this polarity, this spectrum to exist of your creative process, your creativity begins to grow exponentially. And you're only one creative idea from a completely different life. It's never about resources. It's never about the money or connections. That's a byproduct of one creative idea. But for that creative idea to incarnate in you, to be born in you, you gotta allow mutation and the alchemy of uncertainty to be a part of your creative process. I wish somebody gave me this message, you know, when I started on this path, you know, and instead I would get really, in the past, I would get so disoriented by the times of uncertainty, and I would get really frightened and lose my center. And instead of allowing this process to take me through transformation, I would block it with fear. So that's the reason I'm sharing, for you to open up your heart to the beautiful deep waters of your creative process. I'm gonna keep this short. If you just joined, replay this video, my loves. I've never spoke about this process of deep alchemy publicly, and it's something that I see one of the most crucial processes that you can begin to trust and to lean into, and then see what happens. See how you become a magnet for genius, innovative visions, because you embrace the creative process in all its contrast, in all its ascent and descent. I love you. Mwah.